Hello guys, Davinator right here, and today I want to talk about my top 5 traditionally animated Disney films. Now this, goes all the way from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs to, I believe, The Princess and the Frog is the most recent traditionally animated Disney film. Now I will not be including any CGI films. I will not be talking about uh, the Pixar films or even, Tangled or Frozen. Those aren't Pixar films, but still, I'm only talking about, the just hand-drawn, traditionally animated, 2D animated films. And let's go ahead and get this list started at number 5, The Little Mermaid. Now, I am not the biggest fan of the Disney princess films. I don't hate them by any means. Some of them are really well made, but I mean, Sleeping Beauty, that's a pretty generic movie. The romance was pretty lame, and just, it's not very good. And Cinderella, I just find kind of boring, to be honest. I mean, there's no other way for me to put it. I just don't find it very entertaining. I just get kind of bored whenever I watch it. But anyway, this is not the case with The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid is a great film, and one of the main reasons is just all of the characters are great. Not just Ariel. Okay, she's a really good she's a really good main character. She's likable. She's humorous, and and also her romance with or I believe his name is Prince Eric. It's actually a pretty interesting romance because she can't talk for a large portion of the movie. She's literally just mute, and so they have to have a romance to where she just literally can't talk and she's trying to communicate with him. And it makes for some really entertaining comedy, and just her getting used to the human world. It makes for a lot of really humorous scenes, and all the side characters are great. I mean, Flounder is cute. I love all the characters in the movie. It's also a very funny film, and uh, and the climax at the end is actually pretty exciting. And I thought Ursula was a very good villain. And just the songs in this movie, some of the best out of any of the Disney films. Probably some of the best of any musical film ever. The songs in this movie are just great. Like, even people who hate musicals, even people who hate movies with musical numbers, generally still like The Little Mermaid because they're just so great. The songs are just so great in this movie. I love all of them, and just this is one of my favorite uh, Disney films by far, and I just think it's great. I love it always, and I will watch it a lot more times, and I just think it's great. But anyway, let's move on to number 4. Now this is not exactly a popular pick, okay? This is considered one of the worst Disney films for the most part, and this is completely up to personal preference. Okay, I just really like this movie, to be honest. I just think it's a very fun, exciting, action-packed film, and I thought it was, it's really different from most traditionally animated Disney films. It's not a Disney princess film by any means. It's actually just like a straight-up action-adventure film. That is Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Now this is one of my childhood favorites. I think I've watched this movie more times than any other animated film, maybe ever, to be honest. I mean, there are just a couple others that I may have watched an equal number of times, or maybe a few more times, but I used to watch this movie, seriously. It's like every other day when I was a little kid. I mean, seriously, I have watched this movie dozens upon dozens of times. I love this film, and it still hasn't gotten old for me. That's one of the best parts. It doesn't get old for me. And generally, I mean, it doesn't take that many times for me to watch a movie and then I'm like, okay, I'm done now. I don't have to watch it again for a long time. I'm good. No, I can rewatch this movie like once a week and I'm just fine. I mean, I don't actually watch this movie once a week, but I could. Because, I've gone through periods to where I watched it a few times a month, and I enjoyed myself. I didn't get bored with it. And I think it's a very fun and entertaining film. I think all the characters are great. That is the best part of the film by far. The characters are all great. I mean, they don't all get a whole lot of development, but what development they do get is just great. And they're all funny. They're all interesting. They're all very distinct from one another. They all got their very distinctive character traits, and they're very likable. And Michael J. Fox as Milo Thatch, he was really likable. I mean, he's not exactly an original main character, but I thought he worked really well for the story. I think he's likable, and I think he's pretty funny, and just the only real problem with this movie is the villain. Now, personally, I do like the villain to a certain extent just because I like the actor that plays the villain. I've always liked that actor. I can't remember his name for some reason, but I really think he's just a great actor. Uh, but anyway, yeah, he's a really generic villain, and or I'm not going to spoil who it is if you haven't seen the movie, but really, like, as soon as the character is introduced, you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, that person's going to turn out to be the villain. It's pretty obvious, it's pretty cliche, and that's really the main problem that people have with this movie, is that it's really cliche. But the way it's executed, the way it's done, I don't care that it's cliche. It's just such a fun and entertaining film, and also just the action sequences are actually, like, really good. Like, seriously, there is some great action, and the body count is really high. I mean, there's a lot of on-screen death for a Disney film. I mean, seriously, there's tons of people getting shot and blown up and crushed to death and drowned. All kinds of stuff like that. I mean, it's PG, but yeah, it's a really fun, entertaining, exciting, action-packed film. It's not perfect, but it is one of the most fun of all the Disney films, and it's probably the traditionally animated Disney film that I've seen the most of. But anyway, let's get on to number 3, and that is Aladdin. Now, I love this movie. I think it's just absolutely hilarious. All the characters are great. The songs are some of the best, and the characters are just some of the greatest. And just Robin Williams as the genie, one of the best characters in an animated film ever. Hands down, no debate. I don't want to hear anyone say in the comments, I'm actually wrong. No, I'm right. Shut up. He's one of the best characters in any animated film ever, I think. He's hilarious. He did a lot of improv for this movie. It's a very funny film. This movie works just very well as just a straight up comedy. It's a really funny film. Like, seriously, I can't think of many of the Disney films that are actually funnier than this. This is just a genuinely great comedy. And it's just very clever. Jafar is a very good villain. Generally, I can't stand Gilbert Gottfried. I honestly hate that guy. I can't stand Gilbert Gottfried. I think he's annoying. I think Fred and Annoying Orange are, like, not even remotely close to being as annoying as Gilbert Gottfried. He's, like, the most annoying person, I think, ever. Like, Jar Jar Binks completely gets beat out by Gilbert Gottfried. I hate Gilbert Gottfried. Even he's actually a pretty likable character in this movie, and I thought he was really good as the parrot. And yeah, it's just Aladdin is also a very likable protagonist, and this is, it's an exciting film. The climax is great, and it's actually kind of emotional, just because of what happens, and it's a great film, and it has some of the it has some of the best songs in the series. It's just great. It's an all-around great film. And let's go ahead and get on to number 2. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Now, this is also not always considered to be one of the best Disney films, but it's entirely up to personal preference for me. I adore this film. It's one of my favorite animated films of all time, for sure. This is just a fantastic movie, but in every conceivable way. Now, its only downfall are the gargoyles. Now, even the gargoyles in this movie, I don't actually hate them, because I actually do personally think that they're kind of funny at times. I think there are some decent jokes involving the gargoyles, but it's just, they don't fit with the tone of the rest of the movie. The rest of the movie is pretty serious and actually, like, really dark for a Disney film. But yeah, it's just, they're the only weak link, and honestly, they don't take away that much from the film, hardly at all. This is still a near flawless film, in my opinion. The characters are great. The Hunchback is just a very likable and endearing main character. Esmeralda is a good Disney princess. She's not one of the best ones, per se, but she's likable. And her romance, it's not with the Hunchback, but her romance, while it's not one of the best out of the Disney films, it's not, one of the most cliche. She doesn't fall in love with the guy at first sight. She kind of hates him at first. So yeah, there's that, and just the songs, I think, are the best out of all the Disney films, to be honest. This film, the songs in this movie are so epic, and this film as a whole is just really just huge and massive and epic for a Disney film. It blows you away, the sheer scope of this movie. I mean, the stampede scene in The Lion King, that's a very impressive scene. Even that, I think, pales in comparison to just the climax of this film and just the scale and scope of this film. It's absolutely massive. It's just a huge film, and it's great. And just the the villain song in this movie, Hellfire, I think is like the best villain song of all time. No, yes, I'm technically the nostalgia critic says that. Honestly, I thought it was the best villain song I'd ever heard long before I ever watched Nostalgia Critic's top 10 villain song videos. So I'm not copying the Nostalgia Critic. So shut up. But anyway, I gotta hurry this up because the gameplay is almost over. But let's get to number one, Beauty and the Beast. This is a cliche. This is widely considered to be the best Disney film of all time. And you know, I'm gonna rewind the footage a little bit. I'm sorry I'm doing this. It's just this video is about the commentary, not the gameplay. But yeah, it's just Beauty and the Beast. It's just incredible. The songs are almost as good as the songs in The Hunchback of Notre Dame to me. It's just, it's very just. I mean, Belle is the best Disney princess of all. Like, that's the main reason why I put this number one. She's just such a great character. She's just, like, endlessly likable. There are very few main characters that are more likable, in my opinion, than Belle. She's just very endearing and just a great character. The Beast is also great, and the Beast and Belle's romance, the best out of all the Disney romances. It's just, this is probably, like, probably my favorite romance movie, to be honest. I mean, you know, it's a Disney film, but it's just, as far as the Disney romances go, it's not cliched at all. They don't fall in love at first sight. They hate each other at first, and it's just their chemistry is great. Just the chemistry between the characters and the dialogue between the characters and just all the side characters and the characters in general are all just great. Gaston is hilarious as the villain. This is also just a really like good comedy, to be honest. This movie, like when I first saw this movie, I saw it, or the first time I saw it, I was actually like I think 11. But I was actually taken aback at how funny this film actually is. It's a really funny film. I mean, Gaston's song, or I can't remember the name of it, but it's just a great, hilarious song. It's one of the funniest Disney songs, and it's just a great movie. It's funny, it's hilarious. The characters are likable. It's exciting. And it's just one of the most enjoyable animated films ever made, if not the most enjoyable animated film ever made. I absolutely love it to death, and I always will. And that's why it's my number one favorite traditionally animated Disney film of all time. Anyway, guys, if you like this video, please rate and comment and subscribe. And if you want to, you can also share. And guys, I would really appreciate it if you guys would put your top 5 favorite Disney films down in the comments. And anyway, get out of my face.